evening, comrades and friends. Let me begin by asking you once again to give a round of applause to the Prime Minister of Barbados. Real talk, there is no place in this country or anywhere else on earth that Ralph Thorne will give a speech 1/4 of that quality, I can tell you that. I want to also add my voice to all of you, the mothers of this land and the mothers of this constituency, in wishing you the warmest and happiest of Mother's Days tomorrow. Now, my friends, every time that I come to this platform in support of my friend Chad, I come with one simple purpose, I come to call out the hypocrisy. I come to call out the deceit. I come to call out the lies, the reptilian behavior of those in the Democratic Labour Party. Reptiles. I hear some boys say not reptilian, reptiles. And I want to say, we began this campaign now, and we've had a chance to look at what the new look Democratic Labour Party is. Obviously, it is rendered more offensive to the eyes, given the fact that Tyra is no longer with them. They would have reduced in their physiognomy anyhow. But the quality of what they bring to you is nothing more than a disgrace. They have taken that which Errol Barrow built and reduced it into absolute nothingness. And I say to you tonight, comrades and friends, I say to you tonight that we are at a very dangerous place. Now, we have a leader of the opposition who, and I really want to, I come here to talk, I come here to talk. And happily, the little change give me time to talk, right? So I can talk tonight. That party has really taken on the image of Ralph Thorne. It is unfit for anything other than to bear the imprint of the political Lilliputian who is sitting on top of it. It is like a cushion, a deformed cushion. And no, I do not say that to be unkind to Ralph. I am very serious tonight. I say that because that is the most charitable thing I can say about that which he has brought to the Democratic Labour Party. And you just heard me talk broadly about how he has reduced it to an empty shell. But the man himself and his performance as leader and that which he's offering to this country as leader of the opposition tells me, as recently as yesterday, what he talked about with the IMF, the man is vastly uninformed. Vastly. And it is a dangerous thing, comrades, when you can have a man who cannot simply understand. We have completed a program with the IMF. But what was it about? The IMF did not come here to Barbados as they came to Jamaica and handed a government a policy or set of policies. The IMF did not come to Barbados as they went to Trinidad and Tobago and to Guyana and to hand to the government a menu of policies. That which we went through, and this was offensive, that which we went through was homegrown. It was developed by us. It was executed by you and I, all of us, through our various, or the work we do, the adjustments we've had to make, the forbearance, the patience, the Barbadian community as a whole executed that IMF program successfully. And the man who waited at first slip constitutionally to hold a government will tell you that nothing happened. He sees nothing good in a program that has met all of the targets that were set. And we have just come out of a situation where this country, not any others in the Caribbean, this country has seen 15 successive quarters of growth. I want you to think about that. 15 successive quarters. And it is as if Ralph Thorne didn't understand that We inherited a government from the Dems, and he was with us then. So I believe that he should know, because he used to share platforms with us. And if he didn't understand, he could have put up his hand like how a little boy in school would say, but please, Mayor, I don't understand. You could have explained. The same way she explained to y'all tonight, real talk, she would have explained to him. But that man has a fishbone stuck in his gullet named Mayor Motley. The only reason, now we got to be real about this, the only reason that Ralph Thorne is where he is doing what he is doing to you is because he hate Mayor Motley, you know. It is an unextinguishable hatred for one person that brings him to this point. And we went through a program, Homegrown, that helped us to deal with the debt that we inherited. 176% of the gross domestic product of this country. You may ring the bell, Brother Smith. You may ring the bell. 176% of... Do you understand what I mean? That means that if you're working for $100 when the week comes, you get paid your $100. You push it in your pocket and feel going to push out your chest. I got my money. But then look at the bill, the debt you owe, and say, well, hey, every cent of that $100 I owe, and I still got to look for $76 more to pay people before I could buy food, before I could put little gas to cook with, before I could get anything. That's where we were. That, in simple terms, is where we were. Now, if you have a serious leader in the opposition, yeah, you may have got difficulties with how it was done. You may have a difficulty with the policy, because in the second economic plan that we put before this country, the first one was to reduce the debt, which we did. The second was about growth. And there were 9 pillars of growth. And we were supposed to be able to engage intellectually with our opposition on how they would go about growth if they were in government. And that is the kind of debate that we want to have. Let 1,000 thoughts contend. Let the minds of the best in the Democratic Labour Party, as we knew the Democratic Labour Party used to have good minds, and the best of the Barbados Labour Party contend in the interests of you, the people of the country, man. But not with Ralph Thorne. He don't engage there. And it is this constant peddling of feces that is getting under the skin not only of me, but of people all around Barbados. And you know, I tell you, the man is not only vastly unready and uninformed, but he's also actuated by malice. And the malice itself has now gotten under the skin of the people. Why you feel that Steve Park, way down the road listening to this meeting tonight, Steve Blackett won't be at no meetings of the Barbados Labour Party? Oh, why you feel? I asked Peter Phillips, if I tell a lie, why you feel that I was waylaid on Highway 1 today? I come back from walking through Trent Stentry. Hey, somebody stop me. I'm not calling the lady's name because there is a likelihood that she will be victimized by the Thornian community. And that lady come to me and said, Kerrie, I want to talk to you. And I said, well, what is that you want to talk to me about? Because to tell you the truth, I focus on getting votes for the Barbados Labour Party. And my first instinct was, well, this them now coming to offset me. Nothing so. Nothing so. You know the woman come to tell me, I want you to know, I want women to know what's happening inside George Street. So I said, what happened in George Street? My ears sprayed. Well, you know me. And then the woman spell out how the lady who called herself in St. Lucia Yolande Brown or Yolande Dujon Brown, but in Barbados got a different name named Felicia Dujon. How when she ran George Street, she wanted to run in St. Joseph. And she wanted to run in the Bridgetown seat, city of Bridgetown. And she wanted to run in St. Michael's East. And she wanted to run in St. Michael Central. And she wanted to run in St. George North. And that she ended up down here in St. James North. I want you to stop. I want you to stop and let us count it out. St. Michael Central, St. Michael East, the city of Bridgetown. There's a woman who was made a citizen of Barbados in September of 2023. So in the space of 2023 September, that's a year, and we years now May. Maybe a year and a half. That woman, they said that Columbus come to conquer the Caribbean. Well, she came to conquer Barbados because she come ashore and was intent to rule somewhere, somehow. 6 constituencies in the space of a year and a half. No. And if there was confusion in Western, because they had a debate as to whether or not there should be a response offered to my very legitimate question that everybody in the North want to know. Yolande Brown, is Yolande Brown or Yolande Dujon Brown from St. Lucia the same body as Felicia Dujon? That should not be a difficult question to ask. When I canvass with Chad Blackman, he begins, hello, I am Chad Blackman. He know who he is. And you know who he is. But if you're born about here, we want to know who you are, star. And if those names are now causing confusion and difficulty, we have to add another one against the backdrop of what we now know. Because if it was in the St. Michael Central, Bridgetown, then you want to go St. George and St. Michael East, and then you want to be, St. Joseph. Oh, good Christ. She would have to be also now called Punka Donkey. All over the place. All over the place. No. And of course, we have in a good Labour Party way to explain to the young lady what is meant by Punka Donkey, because she ain't know nothing about that. She would not know about that. She wasn't here in 1993. She know about 2023. But I want to say to you that look, when Ralph Thorne can talk, let me go down now to the issues, man. When Ralph Thorne, I may touch on it just now. I've come here to defend the Prime Minister of Barbados because somebody has to raise their voice at some point now to rein in the foolishness that is being peddled. And I am very, very serious about this. When Ralph Thorne can sit down in front of a panel of people from the media and find it within his breast to talk about how he campaigning on morality of the future. But the Pope was just appointed by a conclave. And the Pope himself is talking about morality today. But the Obeah man, Ralph Thorne, is telling you about morality of the future. He's a fortune teller. He can tell you what the morality of the future will be. And then this is what he gets to talk about. And I want to meet Ralph Thorne wherever he is politically on the issues that he wants to raise. He can pick them, and I will meet him because we have to talk this thing through in the interest of this country. Let us not forget that. All right, let me put it to you this way. Grand used to make me go to church often. I will admit that now I don't go as often as Grand used to make me go. But Grand used to see me there every Sunday. So I know that the book of Matthew at chapter 25, verse 40, tells you, verily, verily, that even as you have done it unto the least of these, so you have done it unto me. Now, if you want to talk about morality, what has Mayor Motley done unto the least of these, the people of Barbados? Perhaps we should begin by taking our mind back to the fact that there is a policy still in existence called feeding 1,000 families. Do you understand what that's about? It's only for Ralph Thorne to get there and make grandiose statements about morality. This Prime Minister of Barbados is the only one that has carved out a special policy of government to attack people at the bottom of our society in order to protect them. I come along hearing for the longest time that there was a social study done in 2015 that says that there are 20% of the people of Barbados who live below what they call the poverty line. I heard that. I read it. I heard it in 2015. And everybody quotes it as though Ralph Thorne, like, oh, he's quote Shakespeare. You just quote that. But what does it mean? It means that in my, let me tell you, it means in my constituency, I could go, let me not call the district, I'm not about embarrassing anybody, but I can go to places in my constituency where I know tonight there are 8 or 9 little children sleeping on pieces of furniture. It might be a tabletop. Some sleeping on the ground. Me and Motley would tell you that there was when we were in opposition, just as we came into government, I, Kerrie Symmonds, organized with people in the private sector to help me build a house. A house! Because the mother was sleeping in one place with her baby daughter, and there were 2 or 3 other children, all girl children, sleeping in somebody's place of business on the floor, on a cardboard box that open up, sleeping on the floor every night. Girl children, 8 and 9 years old. So when you hear about moral intervention, Ralph Thorne, that is where we have to go. Because it is through this government that you reach out now to make sure that those people are taken, embraced, and lifted up. This is not a statistic. This is not just a talk about policy. This is living, breathing, walking, feeling human beings. Born and bred here in Barbados that we have to embrace. And Ralph Thorne won't tell me about morality. What about the other program that comes to mind, which is adopting a family? That you give a family, and we started in COVID, and I believe it goes on to this day, that every month you've reached out now to those who, like on this course, because this constituency, Chad, is very similar to mine. You got Apesale, I got Sandy Lane. You got the surrounding communities. I have those communities that feed off of Sandy, well, not feed off, but correlate with. And some of these people are very kindly disposed to Barbados. So you reach out and you say, look, all of us have to live together on this rock. And what we're trying to do is to put together resources to help make sure that there's stability. Because when men and women are left to starve and can't look after their children, you cannot at the same time expect that there will be social stability, because Bob Marley tell you a hungry man is an angry man. And this Prime Minister of Barbados had an Adopt the Family program, the first and only one of its kind in this country that I know about. Still continues. And I have to speak to you in this way, because this is what they are campaigning on. I hear the nonsense, Ralph Thorne, about erosion of democracy. And it hurts me. It hurts me because I'm a Barbadian. And I can come a little bit more now directly to what I see in this constituency, Chad. You know, today, or no, it's yesterday, my constituency assistant and I beating the ground. And we went at the house knocking, and the people next door said, well, the body in there called them going to jazz festival in St. Lucia. So I said, okay. Wow. Well, tell me a little bit about them, because first of all, let me check if they're on the list. Tell me the name. I'm not going to tell you the name, but give me the name. What he's do? He's a barman in one of the hotels. What she's do? She's a primary school teacher. Know them? We got election in community. They're off the jazz festival. They're gone in the comfort and certain knowledge that the country they've left is a country where the bus is running. They've gone in certain knowledge that the country they left got a police force that is not in conflict with the government or conflict with the commissioner as it was under the Democratic Labour Party. They've gone overseas knowing that the country they left is a country where the health care may not be perfect, but you got free health care in Barbados. They've gone overseas knowing that the education system in the country they left is an education system that is working, and at university it is once again working for all the Barbadian students who were taken off when the Dems were in power. And ladies and gentlemen, they go to bed every night knowing that they can wrap themselves in a blanket of comfort called democracy. That's why they're over at the Jazz Festival. Because if you were wrapped up in the turmoil that Ralph Thorne wants you to believe is the life of every Barbadian, if you hear him, he was in the whim. He was in the whim the other night. He and two other people at a whole meeting, 3 of them. No lights, no podium, nothing. A dark corner. You right, my dear, you saw it. There's a guy wrong on WhatsApp. And he plastering the government. The government is the worst thing in the world. And comrades, they got Barbadians tonight that ain't even taking on heeding and that because them going to party in St. Lucia. Tell me about democracy, Ralph Thorne. Tell me about democracy when every blessed month for the last 3 years, Mia, we have been going parish by parish by parish. I know of nowhere in the Caribbean, comrades, nowhere in this region, that there's a prime minister who goes every month to a different parish, sits down without any security, sit down and communicates with the people from the parish, and you can line up from here, cross to that house over yonder, the line long, one after the other, unfiltered, unprepared, everything that on your mind you can come and ask the Prime Minister of Barbados and her cabinet about, and the cabinet must be present to help defend the performance of the government. Only place. Arabar never did it. Brice St. John never did it. Tom Adams never did it. Owen Arthur never did it. We know Friend of Stuart would not have done it. Owen Arthur never did it. David Thompson never did it. So let us talk now, because that's right. The lady says, a prime minister with a difference. But yet we are being asked to believe this gobbledygook about democracy is under threat. The Ideas Forum. A couple of people on this platform have referred to it tonight. But you understand what it is. The Ideas Forum is about asking you when they come around to your parish to come and sit down and have a conversation with the government so that we in the government pick up a pencil and a pen and take notes about what you want done in St. James. How St. James should look in your view as it goes forward, being developed into the future. What are the issues? What are the concerns? What are the solutions that you feel should be implemented? That is how a government has reduced itself in humility of service. And this imbecile is telling you that democracy is under threat. No, it can't work. It can't work. And I want to say to you that the worst part of it all is the constant carping about an authoritarian dictator. Now look, first of all, let me say something. When Ralph Thorne talks about an authoritarian dictator, I want to first of all start by helping Senator Andre Worrell. Because he, on a platform the other night, I back Mr. Thorne on everything he said about dictator. I back Mr. Thorne about everything he said about dictator. Now I have no difficulty. I have, Senator Worrell, no difficulty if you wish to back Mr. Thorne. But where I have a challenge is that you seem not to understand the word. It is not dictator, it is dictator. And you may be misinterpreted unless you speak more slowly and elucidate. But this authoritarian talk You know, election was held, the last election, Mayor Motley, you called in January of 2022. The election date, if I recall, is the 19th of January 2022. And she announced the cabinet the Monday after that election was done. And after the election, as you all will recall, the Labour Party was victorious with all 30 seats for the second time. Now here the dictator, the alleged dictator, said to the opposition parties, get together and decide who y'all want as the people to fill 2 Senate seats, because there must be an opposition voice in the Senate. This Prime Minister said that! This Prime Minister said that! Tell me the dictator who reaches into the opposition anywhere in the history of the world to say, come in the parliament, I have a voice because you have none. The people chose not to give you one, but I am a dictator. I come in to make sure you get a voice. Tell me where that happened in history. Tell me where in the annals of human history that has happened. But it happened here. And if Ralph Thorne was actuated by anything other than malice, he would understand what a fool he makes of himself when he makes these arguments. Tell me the dictator that during the shutdown of COVID, I am Foreign Minister of Barbados. I was Tourism Minister during COVID. I had a connection to the international community. I know of nowhere in the Caribbean that during COVID, a prime minister in a Caribbean country, in fact, I may be right if I say I know of nowhere that a prime minister anywhere in the world, during the shutdown, called the leader of the opposition to say, I am going to give I'm going to distribute some food hampers to the people. I want you to make sure that you get food hampers for your followers and supporters in the opposition. But that happened here in Barbados. The dictator called the opposition to say, make sure that we can get together so that I can make sure that they got some food hampers here, thousands of them, for your people. You know, my friends, it is all right to get up and talk and spout garbage. But when you drill down now, you come to an understanding of where we are as a country and what we have to be about as a people. And the problem with the Democratic Labour Party, I think it was Anthony B. who said it, is that they are now in a culture in there where everybody come to raid the barn. But there ain't a fella who won't plant corn. And that is what made the Prime Minister's speech so important tonight. Because now we are at a time that we have completed an IMF program, that we got now to sit down. And frankly, Prime Minister, knowing you as I know you, it will not be long before you're telling this cabinet that we now must be at a point where we design yet another macroeconomic strategy that is looking at the competitiveness of this country, that is looking at continuing growth, that is looking at increasing our investment, that is looking at diversifying the base of the economy, that is looking at training our people. And you heard Chad Blackman's excellent speech tonight. You heard Indaware give the best speech I've ever heard him give since he was in politics. He's given good speeches, but tonight was par excellence. Because that's what it has to be about. If we can now have cooperatives spread at a parish-wide basis or a constituency-wide basis, and you give a brand, what you are really doing is telling the ordinary man and woman that by collaborating together, you have weight in numbers, and those numbers enable you to have a presence in the market. But we're going to have to go further. We're going to have an economy in which we talk about standards. And everything we do, we got to do it to world-class standards, because even if you're not minded to export, and you should be, we got to make sure that you're doing what you do at the best possible level. Because if you can be the best possible provider of a service to Barbadians, then chances are you're going to be the best of providers across the world, because we smart one another real hard. Real hard. But what we cannot do is continue to turn a blind eye to things that we know are real. So when this election done, Chad and I had to walk along this West Coast from out by me in Prospect and Fitzvillage and Painsbury and come all down to Wayne Chad, but by where Colin is, down in Six Mains. I have a word now with the fellows who are doing the jet ski operation and that kind of thing. When I was tourism minister, we had a young couple that went to sea, having a little fun off the West Coast here. And the lady put on a life preserver jacket. Hey, they hit a big wave and the thing turned over about a mile offshore. It drifted. I had an engine problem. It drifted, I hit a wave, and thing turned over. And the preserver fall apart in the water. Because, again, standards. We deal in business with people, but we are not ensuring that the quality of the life-preserving vest is at a certain standard. And that means that we have to get people to understand, yes, you can do your little small business, but you've got to make sure you do your small business in a way that does not lead to injury by people who are your clients. These are the difficult conversations that we must now have with the people as we lift them all up to being the best in class in what they do anywhere in the world. But ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to hear that conversation coming off the Democrat Labour Party platform. Because they feel that the future of Barbados is in cursing because they got 3 potholes and there's a street light that ain't working. Or that they got a standpipe that dripping. And while those things are not to be things that you want to have, that can't be all it is about. We left that in 1967. And the Barbados of tomorrow, as you heard me say, is the Barbados where we are paddling our canoe alone, and we must make sure we do it as well as anybody else because we will be left behind. There's no Great Britain anymore to cry over us and if we do well or not. The United States, Brother Trump would like to see all the Barbadians go along back home anyhow when he come along back home, and that is how the world is looking at it. Now, friends and family, let me say to you that there are going to be some challenges. We have to make this country digitally inclusive because that simply means that, as you know, in COVID, we had to find devices for the little children to use. It is a critical thing. And don't feel that because COVID done, that challenge has disappeared. In every school, there are little children today who don't have no device or access to devices at home. But there must be a digitally literate set of young people who are capable not only of using the devices, but also now at a stage where they can write, do coding, who can design programs. Lest we forever be buying programs that somebody sells to us, we should be in a position to write some for ourselves and sell to them. That is the Barbados of tomorrow. In a similar way, Chad made the point, they get on a Zoom and abuse him because he's big. But so what? Do John or Brown or do John Brown or Punka Donkey small? So what? In the end of the day, what is the issue? The issue must be that in this land of ours, we eradicate non-communicable diseases. And that we have now to have a concentrated effort on making sure that those things we sell go in a little bit less sugar, a little bit less salt, and make sure that that is now a nationally appreciated thing so that Barbados can continue to be the culinary capital of the Caribbean. But it must also be the place where it's the healthiest in the Caribbean. These are not difficult asks, comrades and friends. And you heard Lisa Cummins tonight, who is the minister responsible for commerce and small business. And all that she said is true. And perhaps we should go a little bit further because there has to be more financial literacy programs in Barbados. The Prime Minister breathed down my neck on that when I was Commerce Minister, breathed down Dwight Sutherland's neck on that. She is a big fan of it. More of it still has to be done because all of you must understand what it is to go and apply for a mortgage. All of you must understand that the challenge in Barbados today is that we got a lot of businesses that are owned by Barbadian black people, but there are very few of them that have been around for 50 years. Even fewer have been around for 100 years. But the businesses that have lasted longest in this country are businesses that are owned by people who don't look or come from the same racial background as we do. So when are we going to make sure that our people are able to pass the business from father to son to grandson? And that is where wealth accrues. That is where there's real wealth. And that must now become part of our culture. And these are the conversations as we go forward that we have to have. So my friends, it is minutes to 12, and tomorrow is Mother's Day, and I do not propose to tarry indefinitely. I want to tell you that there are substantive issues for Chad Blackman to join us in the Parliament and in the Cabinet of Barbados to deal with, and I want to beg you to send him there. I want you to send him there in overwhelming numbers. I want you to send him there and send a message to the Democratic Labour Party that that foolishness that they are doing is nothing that you want to look at seriously, that you want a representative of substance, a representative of vision, a representative of dedication, not somebody who's a fly-by-night that chose St. James North last out of 6 possible options, but who chose St. James North because he feels that he has something to offer and can bond with people at the heart and at the head. And with those words, my friends, thank you. Good night. Get home safely. God bless you. And happy Mother's Day.